The small alien cubs gathered around the strange brown vegetable the human farmer had given them. They sniffed it carefully. It smelled earthy and warm. One curious cub tapped it with his tiny claw. The potato rolled slowly across the ground, and all the cubs chased it, giggling softly together. The oldest cub, Xylo, lifted the potato proudly. "Humans eat this," he said with wonder. The others stared at the simple food. On their planet, meals were glowing crystals and nutrient gel. A plain potato seemed boring, but something about it felt special and mysterious today. Just then, the human farmer returned with a small cooking pot. He smiled kindly at the alien cubs. "You found the potato," he said warmly. The cubs nodded excitedly. They trusted the gentle human. He began preparing a small fire to show them something amazing. The cubs watched closely as the human washed the potato with water. Steam soon rose from the pot as it boiled. The smell filled the air. The cubs' noses twitched curiously. They had never seen food cooked this way before, and their excitement slowly grew. Minutes later, the human carefully removed the potato and placed it on a small wooden plate. He cut it open gently. Soft white steam escaped. The cubs gasped in surprise. The inside looked fluffy and warm, like clouds hiding inside the humble brown shell. One brave cub took the first tiny bite. His eyes widened instantly. "It's delicious," he squeaked happily. The others rushed forward to taste it too. Soon the group of cubs was happily munching the potato together, amazed that something so simple could taste so comforting. The human chuckled as he watched the alien cubs enjoy the potato. "Sometimes the simplest food is the best," he explained kindly. The cubs listened carefully. They had traveled across stars, yet this tiny farm meal was one of the happiest discoveries they had made. Xylo looked up at the sky thoughtfully. "Maybe humans understand food better than we do," he said. The other cubs nodded slowly. Their advanced alien world had forgotten simple joys. A humble potato had reminded them that happiness could grow quietly from ordinary soil. The smallest cub hugged the empty plate. "We should take potatoes back to our planet," she suggested excitedly. The idea spread through the group instantly. Imagine alien farms growing potatoes beside glowing plants. The cubs laughed at the funny but wonderful thought together. The human farmer handed them a small sack of potatoes as a gift. "Share them with your world," he said kindly. The alien cubs promised they would. As their tiny spaceship prepared to leave, they carried something more valuable than technology, a lesson about simplicity and kindness. The alien cubs carefully carried the sack of potatoes toward their tiny silver spaceship. Each step felt important. The potatoes were small, simple things, yet the cubs treated them like treasures. Xylo kept repeating the human's words in his mind. Sometimes the simplest things in the universe are the most valuable. The spaceship door opened with a soft, glowing sound. Inside, colorful alien lights blinked gently. The cubs placed the sack in the center of the cabin. The smallest cub, Luma, poked one potato again. "Hard to believe something so plain tasted so wonderful," she whispered softly. The ship slowly lifted from the quiet human farm. Through the window, the cubs saw the friendly farmer waving goodbye. They waved their little paws back excitedly. None of them expected that their small discovery on Earth would soon change something very important across their entire distant world. As the stars surrounded the spaceship, the cubs began discussing their mission. They were explorers sent by their planet to study human culture. Usually they returned with data and technology reports. But this time, their most important discovery might simply be a brown vegetable. Xylo opened the ship's food scanner and placed a potato inside. The machine beeped curiously. "Strange," he said. "It contains simple nutrients, but also complex energy patterns." The cubs leaned closer to the screen. The potato looked ordinary, yet the scanner clearly showed unusual balance. "Maybe humans evolved with food like this," another cub suggested thoughtfully. "Food grown slowly in soil." On their planet, most meals were artificial nutrient cubes produced in giant factories. The cubs suddenly wondered if their civilization had forgotten something important about natural food. The spaceship traveled through glowing cosmic clouds. Meanwhile, the cubs decided to cook another potato using the ship's heating device. Soon the familiar warm smell filled the cabin. Even in deep space, the comforting scent made the cubs feel strangely calm and happy. They shared the potato again, laughing as crumbs floated in zero gravity. "Earth food is fun," Luma giggled while chasing a floating piece. Xylo smiled. Sometimes discoveries weren't about powerful inventions. Sometimes they were about rediscovering warmth, comfort, and the simple joy of sharing a meal. Days later, their home planet slowly appeared outside the ship's window. The world glowed blue and silver under 3 bright moons. The Cubs felt proud. They weren't just returning with research data. They were bringing a new idea, something small that might make their world happier. The spaceship landed inside the Grand Exploration Station. Tall alien scientists waited patiently. "What did you learn from Earth?" the chief researcher asked. Xylo stepped forward proudly and placed a potato on the table. The room became completely silent with confusion. The scientists stared at the potato carefully. "Is it a biological tool?" one asked. Another scanned it with advanced equipment. The Cubs tried not to laugh. "No," Xylo explained gently. "It's food." The scientists looked even more confused. Food wasn't usually this simple. Soon the laboratory filled with curious researchers. They analyzed the potato's chemical structure. Every scan confirmed the same thing. It was natural, balanced, and surprisingly efficient as nutrition. But the Cubs knew the real secret wasn't just the nutrients. It was the experience of sharing it. The Cubs told the story of the human farmer and the warm meal by the fire. The scientists listened carefully. Some were skeptical. Others seemed curious. In a highly advanced civilization, the idea that happiness could come from something simple felt almost unbelievable. Finally, the chief scientist tasted a small cooked piece of potato. He paused silently. The room waited. Slowly his eyes widened with surprise. "It's comforting," he admitted quietly. The Cubs smiled proudly. Humans had shared something their planet had long forgotten. Soon other scientists tried it too. The laboratory filled with surprised murmurs. "Why does it feel so satisfying?" one researcher wondered aloud. Xylo explained what the farmer had said. Simple things can carry warmth when they are grown naturally and shared kindly. Within days, the discovery spread across the city. News screens showed the strange earth vegetable. Citizens were curious. Markets requested samples. The Cubs became small celebrities. People gathered just to hear the story of how Earth's humble potato surprised an entire alien civilization. Farm engineers became especially interested. Their planet had fertile land, but rarely used it for natural farming anymore. Most crops were synthetic. After studying the potato, they began experimenting with soil gardens again for the first time in centuries. The Cubs visited the first experimental farm field. Small green plants slowly grew from the soil. Luma watched them happily. "It reminds me of Earth," she said softly. The others nodded. The farm smelled fresh and alive compared to the sterile factory food plants. Months passed, and the first alien-grown potatoes were harvested. They looked slightly blue instead of brown, but they smelled just as warm. The Cubs gathered around the cooking pot, remembering the human farmer who had started everything. When the potatoes finished cooking, everyone tasted them together. The result was amazing. The flavor was different, but equally comforting. The entire farm erupted with joyful laughter. Their planet had rediscovered something ancient, the quiet happiness of natural food. News of the strange earth vegetable spread quickly across the alien cities. Citizens gathered in markets and research halls to see the humble potato. Many expected advanced technology from Earth, not simple food. Yet curiosity grew stronger each day as more people wondered how something so ordinary changed the explorers. The Cubs were invited to the Central Science Council to explain their discovery. Huge glowing screens showed images of Earth farms. Xylo spoke calmly. He explained how humans grow food slowly in soil, caring for plants patiently. The council members listened closely, realizing their own planet had forgotten such practices. Soon experimental farms appeared on the edges of alien cities. Engineers carefully prepared soil beds for the first time in centuries. The Cubs watched excitedly as the first potato plants were placed into the ground. Everyone waited nervously, unsure if the ancient method would truly work again. Weeks passed slowly. Small green leaves finally pushed through the dark soil. Farmers cheered with excitement. Children visited the farms to see the miracle of natural growth. The Cubs proudly explained how humans patiently wait for plants to grow instead of producing food instantly in machines. As the plants grew taller, scientists studied the soil ecosystem. Tiny organisms lived beneath the surface, helping the plants grow stronger. This discovery amazed the researchers. Their technology had ignored these natural systems for generations. Now they realized nature itself was an incredibly intelligent partner. The cubs often sat beside the growing fields in the evenings. The air smelled fresh and calm compared to the sterile factory districts. Luma watched the plants sway gently in the wind. Earth must feel peaceful like this, she whispered softly while the others nodded in agreement. Finally, harvest day arrived. Alien farmers carefully dug into the soil. One by one, blue-tinted alien potatoes appeared from the ground. The crowd gasped with excitement. It was the first naturally grown food their planet had produced in centuries, and it all began with the cubs' small discovery. That evening, the first alien potatoes were cooked in a large public gathering. Warm steam rose into the cool night air. Thousands of citizens gathered to taste them together. The cubs remembered the quiet farm on Earth and the human farmer who first shared the humble meal. People tasted the potatoes with curiosity. Slowly, smiles spread through the crowd. The flavor felt comforting and natural. Many said it reminded them of something ancient in their culture. The cubs realized the potato was awakening forgotten memories of simpler, happier times. Soon laughter and conversation filled the celebration. Families shared food under glowing alien lanterns. The cubs looked around proudly. Their journey to Earth had brought more than knowledge. It had restored a sense of community their planet had quietly lost long ago. After the great harvest celebration, the alien cities began changing slowly. People started asking for more natural farms instead of food factories. The cubs were invited everywhere to tell their Earth story. Each time they spoke, citizens listened carefully, amazed that such a small discovery had created such happiness. Schools invited the cubs to speak with young students. The children gathered around excitedly, their bright eyes full of curiosity. Xylo showed pictures of the Earth farm and the human farmer. The children laughed when they saw the simple wooden house and green fields stretching under the blue sky. Humans grow their food slowly, Luma explained to the class. They care for the soil, the rain, and the sun. The children found the idea fascinating. Their world had always relied on machines. The thought that patients could create delicious food felt like magic to them. Soon many families began growing small gardens outside their homes. Even tiny patches of soil were enough to grow plants. The cubs loved walking through the neighborhoods and seeing green leaves appearing everywhere. Their planet was slowly becoming more colorful and alive with natural growth. Scientists continued studying the Earth potato carefully. They discovered that natural crops improved both physical health and emotional well-being. Citizens who ate fresh food reported feeling calmer and happier. The researchers realized their advanced society had ignored something very important for far too long. The cubs received a special message from the Exploration Council. They were honored as heroes of cultural discovery. Instead of bringing powerful technology, they had brought wisdom from a distant world. The cubs felt proud but also humble, remembering the farmer who had simply shared a meal. Meanwhile, alien chefs became inspired by the humble potato. Restaurants across the cities experimented with new recipes. Some roasted them with glowing spices, while others mashed them with sweet alien herbs. The cubs enjoyed tasting every creative dish that appeared in the growing food culture. Markets soon filled with fresh vegetables grown in natural soil farms. Citizens walked through colorful stalls, choosing their food. The cubs noticed something beautiful happening. People were smiling more often and talking to each other while shopping. Food had become a shared experience again. The government officially declared a new yearly celebration called the Day of the Humble Potato. On this day, citizens gathered in parks and farms to share meals together. Music played while families laughed and children ran through the green fields happily. During the first Potato Day celebration, the cubs stood on a small stage. Thousands of citizens gathered around. Xylo told the entire story of their visit to Earth. When he finished, the crowd applauded warmly, grateful for the unexpected gift of a simple vegetable. Later that evening, the cubs sat quietly under the 3 moons of their planet. Fields of growing crops stretched across the horizon. Luma smiled softly. All this started with one potato, she said. The others nodded, realizing that even the smallest discoveries can change entire civilizations. The cubs often thought about the human farmer. They wondered if he knew how important his kindness had been. Without expecting anything in return, he had shared his food and wisdom. That small moment had traveled across the stars and transformed another world. One day, the exploration station received a transmission from Earth. The cubs rushed to the communication room. On the screen appeared the smiling human farmer. He waved cheerfully. "Hello, my little space friends," he said warmly. The cubs happily told him everything that had happened. They described the farms, the celebrations, and the new food culture spreading across their world. The farmer listened with wide eyes, completely surprised that a simple potato had influenced an entire alien civilization. "Well," the farmer laughed kindly, "sometimes the smallest things grow the biggest changes." The cubs remembered his words from the first day they met him. Now they understood their meaning more clearly than ever before. The farmer then showed them something exciting. Behind him were rows of new crops growing in his fields. "I've been experimenting too," he explained. "Maybe our planets can exchange seeds and learn from each other." The cubs loved the idea instantly. Sharing plants, farming knowledge, and recipes between two worlds sounded wonderful. The Exploration Council quickly approved the plan. Soon the first interplanetary seed exchange mission began preparing for launch. The cubs volunteered to lead the mission back to Earth. This time they wouldn't arrive as curious explorers. They would return as friends bringing gifts from their own planet. Their spaceship was carefully filled with seeds of alien potatoes and glowing herbs. As the ship launched into the starry sky, the cubs felt excited and proud. Their journey had come full circle. They were returning to the place where the adventure began, carrying proof that kindness and simple ideas can travel far beyond one world. Days later, Earth appeared in the spaceship window once again. Blue oceans shimmered under sunlight. The cubs remembered their first nervous landing on the farm. Now they felt confident and joyful as they prepared to visit their human friend again. The spaceship landed gently near the same quiet farmhouse. The farmer stepped outside, shading his eyes from the sunlight. When he saw the cubs, his face lit up with happiness. "Welcome back," he called, waving both hands warmly. The cubs ran toward him excitedly. They presented a small glowing box filled with alien seeds. The farmer examined them with curiosity. "So these are space potatoes?" he laughed. The cubs nodded proudly. Together they planted the alien seeds in the rich earth soil. The farmer carefully covered them with dirt while explaining how sunlight and water would help them grow. The cubs watched closely, remembering how their own planet had rediscovered this ancient knowledge. Weeks later, the first alien plants appeared on Earth. Their leaves shimmered slightly under the sunlight. Scientists soon arrived to study them, amazed by the cooperation between two distant civilizations through agriculture and friendship. The farm became a symbol of peaceful cooperation. Humans and alien visitors worked side by side in the fields. News of the partnership spread across both planets, inspiring hope that many cultures could learn from one another. The cubs helped the farmer harvest both Earth and alien crops together. The mixture of vegetables created new flavors never tasted before. Cooking experiments filled the farmhouse kitchen with wonderful aromas and laughter. During one dinner, the farmer raised a cup of warm tea. "To friendship between worlds," he said proudly. The cubs raised their cups too, smiling happily under the soft evening sky. Above them, the stars glittered quietly. Somewhere among those distant lights was the cubs' home planet, now filled with green farms and smiling citizens. The farmer looked up and realized his small act of kindness had traveled incredibly far. The cubs knew their adventure was not over. Many other worlds existed in the galaxy, each with their own traditions and foods. Perhaps one day they would share these discoveries with even more civilizations. For now, they simply enjoyed the peaceful farm and the delicious meals they shared together. Sometimes the greatest adventures are not battles or inventions, but quiet moments of friendship around a warm table. Children from nearby towns visited the farm to meet the friendly alien cubs. They laughed together while digging potatoes from the soil. The cubs loved teaching them how their own planet now farmed because of this simple discovery. Scientists from Earth and the alien world formed a joint agricultural research team. Their goal was simple: combine knowledge to grow healthier crops for both planets. The collaboration quickly produced amazing results. New plants grew stronger and faster while remaining natural and healthy. The cubs proudly watched as science and tradition worked together beautifully. Soon the farm expanded into a large interplanetary research garden. Crops from two worlds grew side by side under the same sky. Visitors traveled from far away just to see it. The farmer often told guests the same story. All of this began with sharing a single potato. People always smiled at the idea. The cubs never forgot the lesson they learned on their first day on Earth. Simple kindness can travel further than the fastest spaceship. Years passed, and the farm continued growing. New explorers visited Earth to learn about natural food and culture. The cubs eventually became leaders of peaceful exploration missions across the galaxy. Whenever they visited a new world, they carried a small bag of potatoes as a friendly gift. Strangely enough, those gifts often began wonderful friendships. Across the galaxy, stories spread about the humble potato diplomacy. Many planets began sharing their own foods with neighbors. Cultures that once felt distant slowly discovered common ground through meals and farming. The cubs realized something important. Food connects hearts faster than technology. Even the most advanced civilizations still appreciate warmth, comfort, and shared meals. Whenever the cubs looked at a potato, they remembered the farmer's smile. That memory reminded them to stay humble, no matter how famous their discovery became. One quiet evening they returned once more to the farm. The farmer greeted them like family. Together they cooked another simple potato dinner. The taste was just as comforting as the first time. Stars filled the sky above the peaceful fields. Two worlds were now connected forever. The cubs felt grateful for their unexpected adventure. The farmer felt proud of his small farm. Neither of them expected such a big story to begin there, but sometimes great stories begin quietly. Sometimes they begin with kindness. Sometimes they begin with curiosity. And sometimes they begin with a humble potato. And across the stars, the legend of the small alien cubs and the humble potato continued to inspire new friendships between worlds.